here we go with our little literary adventure in Edinburgh. We're gonna assume internet aliases for the purposes of this. I'm gonna christen you the Brewbot 5000.
Okay.
Yeah. And I am Dandroid. Anyway, so what we're doing is there's a sort of like literary geocaching app produced by Edinburgh Uni called Litlong, and Andy has Brewbot is downloading it onto his phone because I don't have a smartphone, and we're killing kind of two birds with one stone, which is a very internet type theme, trying to do many things at once as efficiently as possible. So I get to show Andy around Edinburgh because he's not been up here too much before, and then I also get to do some work on my master's thing. So right now we're downloading the app and we're getting ready to launch.
Welcome to Litlong. Tap map pins or current location to start. The title, author, year and direct link to the full text will appear here. And a sample of relevant text on your location will appear in this white section. Just tap on the I info button of the location pop-up to get going. When you've chosen your location, tap left and right to jump between extracts. Okay, fantastic. Well,
so our location.
So yeah, current location. Gosh, okay, so...
Wow, that's a...
Oh, we've already got something. I don't know where we...
Our current location is Guthrie Street.
We're absolutely surrounded by...
stuff.
Hang on, we're around where we are?
Oh, right, yeah. Wait, yeah, it has
In
loaded
general?
up, isn't it? Literary Landmarks of Edinburgh, 1891, Lawrence Hutton. So this stood at the head of College Wynd, described as a steep and straightened alley ascending from the Cowgate to the south side of the town. It was originally called the Wynd of the Blessed Mary in the Field, which I can see why we've shortened that to Guthrie Street. That's just a mouthful. And what is left of it is now called Guthrie Street, perhaps after the famous Dr. Guthrie.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
You heard of the famous Dr. Guthrie?
I haven't.
No. Was never officially recognised the Blessed Mary anywhere. Scott's house and others who were in it were pulled down when Scott was a child to make room for the new college, and the family. Walter Scott was born here in 1771.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right, fab. Right, let's go.
Okay, so that's College Wynd now, out there. Well, one of the halls that I helped manage for the uni, and apparently that's where Walter Scott was born, in some smelly student halls. So yeah, like I said, there's Guthrie College Wynd, apparently where Sir Walter Scott was born. Of course, the problem is that would only be really impressive to us if either of us had actually read Walter Scott. Yeah.
Interested in things like that, Daniel.
Yeah.
Not interested in history either.
Which, for me, kind of brings up one of the themes of digital education, the idea of digital literacy, the idea that we've got to be like, there's a different type of literacy in the 21st century. The thing of it is, though, that literacy is generally accessed through the older type of literacy. So, although this app teaches us that Walter Scott was born here, we really should have read some Walter Scott stuff if that actually is supposed to mean anything to us. We do know he's got a big statue though, and the train station's named after some of his novels, so at least we can connect it up with that, I guess. What's that? 244 literary excerpts?
Yeah, 244 extracts on Cowgate.
That's because it's one of the most famous streets, isn't it?
And just coming up with Stephen's Law Close, which is up here. 2 extracts.
From any books that you might recognise?
Memorials of Edinburgh in Olden Time by Wilson Daniel, 1848.
I think that's probably Daniel Wilson.
Daniel, yeah. Okay, that does.
Again, literacy, access, new literacy, access through old literacy.
I also have a note here. The berries of the basement of Mary's Chapel entering Stephen Law's Close was occupied as a
Smithy, blacksmith.
And
while Dr. Gardner was preaching, I observed little wreaths of smoke coming through the floor. I was not much alarmed till one came and set the most pungent odour into my nose when I started up and assured that there was something far wrong.
It doesn't go on to say what was wrong.
Well, that he smelled the blacksmith underneath the church.
Sure.
I mean, you probably think it'd be like sulphurous and like maybe hell is like bubbling up underneath you. Yeah.
Maybe not an appropriate place for a blacksmith either way.
Yeah.
Church.
Health and safety. Wouldn't be allowed to do that these days.
Health
Hell.
and safety.
Yes, we're only allowed to build 7 circles of hell in designated areas.
Yeah, exactly.
Most likely to be in student halls. Yeah, what I forgot to say was the whole thing of 244 extracts illustrates another theme of kind of digital culture and internet culture for me. One of the main themes actually is how much stuff, so much, too much to actually cope with, that even on like one street, 244 references and literary extracts. We could just spend all day on this street, apparently. But we won't, but that is very internet. This isn't on the literary app. It's the Edinburgh City Mortuary. Hooray! Hooray!
Oh boy.
But it's not on the map because Ian Rankin, the Rebus crime writer, novelist guy, isn't included on the list of like authors.
Right.
Which, given that he's like one of the most popular selling crime authors for the last 20 years, I've certainly read all of his books. And he's set in Edinburgh every time, but he doesn't rate.
Perhaps you want to make a contribution.
Yeah, well, I am making a contribution. It's like I'm the app now. I am the post-human literary machine informing you about all the goodness.
Where does the app start and we end? That's the question.
So look, now you know that this is the mortuary. So exciting.
Yeah.
I get excited every time I pass this.
Yeah, I'm on the fence.
But yeah, that obviously other things about like algorithmic cultures and internet culture, editing. I mean, who gets to count as worthy novelists? Who gets to say what knowledge is worth it or not? We still have to make these choices, even within the kind of deluge of like so much information. You still have to make editing choices, and those can have powerful impacts, because otherwise you wouldn't get to know about the mortuary. Aren't you glad? Isn't there a thing where you can search by author rather than by location?
There's no like...
Can you go to the menu?
I don't believe there's any kind of...
Text view, no? Or search or something like that.
I don't believe there's a... Nah. There's a search.
There was a search thing on the website, but maybe not on the app?
No, I don't think so on the app. Map view, text view. I mean, what's the difference here? Map view. Map view is just that. So, okay. So, current location. And the text view comes up. 992 on Holyrood.
Oh, here we go. So, here we are back in the flat. Act natural. Start again. Here we are back in the flat. Start again.
Okay.
Here we are back in the flat. One of the problems of doing stuff out in the real world with very crappy recording equipment is how windy it was on Arthur's seat, and all of the dialogue, all this amazing, insight we were giving just got whipped away in the wind. You can't hear it at all on the video. So have a go at it again. So we were trying to estimate the cost of turning the app, the Litlong app, into a kind of augmented reality.
Sure. Yeah.
Thing.
Whether it would be worth something like that being more interactive, more fun, I suppose.
It's
what we were discussing.
Well, it's because I had no idea what the cost of making an augmented reality app would be. I mean, because when I downloaded it, I imagined it would be like Pokemon Go, but with literature, so that I would look at the building and it would then a little kind of version of Walter Scott, would appear and read me little extracts and tell me, oh, I was born here.
Sure.
And then attack me with like +4 power, something like that. But then when you think about it, that's just not realistic for, academics to produce, because you have to do Pokemon Go. There was like the entire weight of Nintendo and all their developers behind it, whilst the academics probably cracked on with the actual literary research to make this app rather than worrying too much about the heads up or the graphics displays.
Absolutely. I think while it's a useful exercise, I think just the sheer quantity of information it's trying to to work with or put across kind of makes it unsuitable for that kind of level of augmented reality. You hold it up and you have like some beautiful text reveal over the birthplace of whatever author. I mean, even we found, although it was enjoyable and interesting to do it as we went around, just because Edinburgh being the city it is, even in the kind of stripped back, functional kind of academic sort of tool way that the app had been built, it was still too much to process at a time. There was it was like, oh, okay, this is 244 references in this particular street, and you sift through a few and you think, okay, well that's interesting, but yeah, I don't know, its function, like for anything more than kind of just a novelty.
It's kind of hard to build a different experience on top of that, because it's got so many other references to try and make.
There's just too much information. If you wanted it to be, that sort of thing, it could be really, really interesting as more of a kind of tourism kind of exercise. But then obviously, you have to, going back to what we were saying, like a vast amount of editing is going to have to take place to make sense of that amount of literary references, and I guess boil it down to
the good stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is that two things. Should academics really be doing that? I mean, was this app the end result of all the work, or was it kind of a side result? It would be, you don't want literary historians focusing on apps for tourists. You want them doing literature work, and it's good that this is kind of an offshoot thing where you can make the information and work available for people should they be interested, but at the same time you don't want it distracting them from the good scholarship. And it's kind of interesting to ask, was this done as an additional thing, or was this done as the only thing? The only academic product produced? And if it was the only one, is that what we want? Is that as academically as valid? As opposed to doing, I presume, what the traditional scholarly work of journals, papers, conferences, that kind of thing. The other final thing, trying to recall what we talked about, was I've always had my doubts about edutainment type apps, because trying to gamify things to fool people into learning more and whatnot. The thing of it is, educational games can never be as entertaining as something that's designed purely for entertainment and kind of addictiveness. And if they're going up against proper games in the attention-seeking wars, I think they're always going to come out second best a little bit.
Sure. But I think it's a good example of kind of, more just like an exercise in in how this data, how data can be processed and used as a kind of real-time tool, and how whatever data it is, in this case, all this information, this historical information, how that can be processed and one way or another integrated, like directly in real time through technology in our ordinary lives. And I think it's a valid exercise in that it shows, I think it, shows the potential of it. Certainly, we're questioning whether, I don't think the apps may be intended as some fully fledged thing, but rather, like
it's a new branch of scholarship,
sure,
kind of thing. How I came about to grab my attention was a talk on becoming a digital humanities scholar, and trying for scholars who aren't in that particular area where you'd expect to know about and digital things and disperse your knowledge that way, like informatics, IT, media studies, etc. It's for them to try and engage with it and try and work in a slightly different way that so it is naturally a bit experimental.
Sure.
And we have been experimenting with it today. So that was our little adventure in Edinburgh, along the Cowgate, up Arthur's Seat, learning about... Say bye. Bye.
Salisbury Crags, 52 extracts here.
The Black Douglas, second impression.
Samuel Crockett.
1899.
1899.
At last, they entered the Thames of Hollywood and saw the deer crouching and basking amongst the copses. Or scanning over the broomy nose of the never... Bloody hell, it's so windy.
We've got Nether Hill, I guess is that. Two extracts there, Nether Hill. Arthur's Seat, presumably. 153 literary extracts. And behind that we've got another Arthur's Seat.
114.
Which 114.
It kind of makes me wish there was more, because they're literary extracts and they have little descriptions, but I kind of think poetry is more suitable. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's more evocative of where it is, and also, if it's generally short stanzas or short poems, they're contained enough, whilst just reading a little grab from something.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
isn't it?
Yeah. But again, very internet, very digital. Getting little grabs that have been tagged to certain places, you thinking that you understand the whole, but really you're only just getting a little